He didn't lift the badge. He didn't play to the crowd. He didn't sell a story. Peter Houseman. He ran. Harder than the rest, quieter than the noise, deeper than the cameras could see. He didn't dive. He didn't pose. He just kept showing up when others hid. 12 years at Chelsea. 343 games. And in the match that defined them, he gave them everything. He scored when it mattered. He ran until the pitch had nothing left. And when the cup was lifted, he just walked away. No roar, no arms raised, just the job done. Like it always was. And then, no statue, no tribute, no farewell, not even a song. The club moved on, the headlines changed, and the name disappeared. But not here, not today. Because Peter Houseman didn't need fame. He needed only one thing, to be remembered right. Say it now, before the silence wins. Subscribe if you still believe the ones who asked for nothing should never be forgotten. Peter Houseman was born on 24th December 1945 in Battersea, South London. A working-class area. Rough streets, no shortcuts, no special treatment. He didn't grow up with contracts in his pocket. He grew up with scraped knees and a ball that never stayed still. Football was escape. And from the start, he could run. Not the flashiest, not the biggest, but the type who never gave in. And coaches noticed. Chelsea brought him into their youth setup in the early 1960s. He was still a teenager, still raw, but had something others didn't, a motor that never stopped. In 1963, at 17 years old, he signed professional terms with Chelsea. No announcement, no photo shoot, just the beginning of a journey that would stretch 12 years, 343 appearances, and a final that would define him forever. But in the beginning, he was just a quiet kid from Battersea, trying to earn a place in a game that didn't wait for anyone. Peter Houseman made his senior debut for Chelsea during the 1963-64 season. He was just 17 years old. But the early years weren't kind. Between 1963 and 1966, he made just 7 league appearances in total. He was part of the squad, but barely used. Too slim, too soft-spoken. Not physical enough for the way Chelsea wanted to play under Tommy Docherty. Other players came in, big personalities, flashy styles. Houseman kept his head down. There were no interviews, no noise, just training, every day, and a place on the fringes. Chelsea finished 5th in the league in 1964-65, then 5th again in 1965-66. But Houseman didn't play a part in that success. Still, he never asked to leave, never dropped down a division. He waited, he worked, and he stayed loyal. In a club that changed players often, Peter Houseman held on. The faith wasn't immediate, but it was coming. Because by the time 1966-67 rolled around, Chelsea would finally need him, and he'd be ready. The breakthrough came in the 1966-67 season. Around the dressing room, they called him Nobby, not after Nobby Styles, but because he kept his head down, never shouted, never sought the limelight, just played. Peter Houseman finally earned his run. 27 league appearances, 4 goals, and a manager who started to trust him. He was never the flash, never the face, but the team ran smoother with him in it. Quiet passes, endless tracking, late runs, early crosses. He did the work no one wanted and made it count. Chelsea reached the 1967 FA Cup final. Houseman started at Wembley. They lost 2-1 to Tottenham, but he'd shown he belonged on the big stage. The following year, 1967-68, he played 38 matches in all competitions. Nailed down the left flank, sometimes deeper, sometimes drifting in. Reliable, relentless, respected. By 1968-69, he was a fixture. The number 11 shirt often his, the fans learning his name, the squad leaning on his legs. He didn't chase goals, he chased moments. And when Chelsea needed balance, he was the one who brought it. From a fringe player to a guaranteed starter in 3 seasons, the rise wasn't loud, it was earned, and it was only just beginning. The 1969-70 season was the year Peter Houseman wrote his name into Chelsea history, even if the game never bothered to remember it. Chelsea were chasing their first ever FA Cup, and Houseman wasn't a squad player anymore, he was starting. Trusted, vital. He played 41 matches that season in all competitions, worked the left flank like a machine, tracked back, delivered early, never stopped moving. Then came the final. 11th April 1970, Wembley Stadium, Chelsea versus Leeds United, a brutal, violent, historic battle. Chelsea fell behind, twice, fought back, twice. Houseman scored Chelsea's first equaliser, a low strike left foot, from distance, a low strike from the edge of the box skipped past Gary Sprake and into the net. Not glamorous, but crucial. The match ended 2-2. It was the first time an FA Cup final would need a replay. 29th April 1970, replay at Old Trafford. 110,000 fans watched a war. Houseman started again. Ran all night, covered both flanks, never got the headlines, but most in the squad would later call him man of the match. Chelsea won 2-1 after extra time, broke the curse, lifted the cup, their first FA Cup. And Peter Houseman was right there in the middle of it. No camera moment, no speech, just a medal and the same walk off the pitch he'd done 100 times before. He didn't roar, he didn't kneel, he just disappeared into the team photo, and somehow into history's silence. After Wembley, Europe came calling. Chelsea entered the 1970-71 Cup Winners' Cup. And once again, Peter Houseman was part of the story, just not the headline. He was ever present in the 1970-71 Cup Winners' Cup, starting in the 1-1 final on 19 May 1971 and the 2-1 replay win 2 days later on 21st May in Athens, earning his medal as Chelsea claimed their first major European title. In 1971-72, Houseman played 29 games, still useful, still reliable, still running. But the club was losing momentum. Dave Sexton's title challenge had passed, the finances tightened. The decline began. By 1973-74, Chelsea finished 17th in the First Division. Houseman was no longer a regular, used occasionally, trusted quietly, but no longer first name on the team sheet. From 1971 to 1974, his presence slowly began to fade. New players arrived, tactical systems shifted. Chelsea were changing, and not for the better. He never complained, never asked to leave, never went public. He stayed as others were sold, dropped, or lost faith. By now, he'd given them more than a decade, but football was already looking the other way. By the start of 1974-75, Peter Houseman was in his 12th season at Chelsea. He was 29, and the club was falling apart. They were struggling on the pitch, struggling off it, finishing 19th in the league, trying to rebuild under new management. Houseman featured sparingly. Fewer starts, shorter minutes, still running, still available, but no longer central. That season, he played just 14 league games, and at the end of it, they let him go. No testimonial, no farewell match, no tribute, 343 appearances, 12 years, 39 goals. He had helped them win their first FA Cup, played across a European campaign, been loyal through every peak and collapse. And still, he was released like it never happened. No statement from the board, no flags in the stands, just gone. In the Chelsea program, his name disappeared. And for most fans, so did the man. But he wasn't finished with football yet. He still had more to give, even if the spotlight was gone. After leaving Chelsea, Peter Houseman signed for Oxford United in the summer of 1975. It wasn't about money, it wasn't about pride, it was about still playing the game he loved. He was 30 years old, no longer in the spotlight, but still fit, still sharp, still willing to run. He made around 45 to 55 league appearances, 60 to 65 in all competitions, and scored 2 goals for Oxford United between 1975 and 1977, and brought quiet leadership to a younger squad. But his focus had already begun to shift. He started working in the local community, coaching children, running charity football events, helping build the game from the ground up. He'd done everything right, given everything to football, and was finally building something of his own. On weekends, he coached young players at Oakley FC quiet sessions, No shouting, just guidance. Football had been his gift, and now he gave it back. Then came the drive. 20 March 1977. Houseman and his wife Sally were returning from a charity event in Oxfordshire. 2 friends were with them. The car crashed. All 4 were killed instantly. Peter was 31 years old. He left behind 2 sons, aged 6 and 3. There was no national outpouring, no televised tribute, no Chelsea-led memorial, just a short club statement. And silence. He gave them 12 years, helped win their first FA Cup, ran until he had nothing left, died giving back to the game. One match was played a testimonial in 1977, Stamford Bridge. 17,000 showed up in quiet mourning. The proceeds went to his sons. Ron Chopper Harris once said, he was quiet but reliable, a player you could trust in big games. That's what they remember, not the flash, the faith. And what did he get? No statue, no stand, no tribute on the anniversary. And in 2025, Peter Houseman still isn't in the Chelsea Hall of Fame. Most fans today don't know his name. Some might remember the goal. Even fewer remember the man. But 343 games don't lie. 39 goals, 1 final run like war. And loyalty that outlasted managers, egos, and eras. Peter Houseman didn't chase greatness. He just kept showing up for it. And the silence that followed isn't a reflection of his worth, it's a reflection of how easily football forgets. But not here, not now. This was his tribute. Long overdue, never too late. Say his name, Peter Houseman. And if you believe football should honor the ones who gave everything, subscribe. Because stories like his don't get told unless we tell them.